Hey folks, welcome to Studio 150 and another chapter, another episode of Selling to the CIO. My name's Steve Roach. I am the guest host, filling in for David Silverstein. I have a special guest with me, Gregg Zahour, former VP of IT for Lehigh Valley Health Network. Gregg, congratulations on your recent retirement. Glad to have you in. Really appreciate you coming in. Why don't you tell our guests a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Steve. Yeah, hey, this is great. Thanks for having me. Retirement is pretty cool. Yeah. Retired about 5 months. Running out of things to do around the house, but definitely some good stuff here. But no, I was at Lehigh Valley a little over 37 years. I kind of started because it was a great run. So as a Unix programmer, system administrator, worked my way up the food chain, involved a lot of infrastructure, all the technology stack. It's really a very fortunate career for me. I ended up as the vice president CTO in the last 6 years of my career there. And then after we got merged with Jefferson, I became more involved with the IMO, which is the Integration Management Office. I did a lot of integration work, consulting applications, technologies, things like that. But no, it's been a great run, and I have to have a little more free time on hand. So thanks for having me.
I'll tell you, Gregg, it's that 30-year run and climbing up the market. Climbing up the chain. I've always said to folks, like, you're one of the most technical VPs that I ever worked for, and personally, I always appreciated that. Yeah. So when we talked about projects and needs and how the business was doing, you understood the technology. You didn't just throw it down on your guy. So I always appreciate it. You did tell me a funny story with the retirement that not all your buddies are retired. So you're looking to golf and they're still working. That's, still working that out.
Like, between the housework and watching the grandkids and looking for someone to play golf, it is a challenge, but maybe it's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
cool.
Certainly. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we'll be golfing soon because I retire.
Sure. But thanks again for having me, Steve.
No, let's jump right into it. So Gregg, like, what we're always looking for, certainly as sellers and new sellers, what they're most interested in is what's the best way to, they get that meeting, they do whatever they had to do and they get the meeting. What's the best way to prep? How should they be ready to, work with you in that first initial meeting?
Sure. So again, getting your foot in doors is paramount. And I know it's hard. We talked about this a few weeks ago. It's extremely hard. But again, I didn't like the vendors that would just come in and just start pushing product. Here's a whole bunch of things you can buy, services, product, whatever the case may be. And it's hard without knowing them to know what maybe isn't working. So if you can, try to figure out what's not working.
Right.
What's broken. What problems you're trying to solve. And in natural progression, maybe you might need to buy something, maybe a service or product or something like that. But it's hard coming in cold like that.
Yeah.
But definitely don't go in just pushing. Here's a bunch of things. We do this great stuff. What do you want? Pick it out of a menu. So for me.
If a seller came in and said, hey, I was, talking to some of the vendors you buy from, and I heard this project's going on or this problem, that's what you're kind of looking for. Come in prepped a little bit.
Exactly. And again, maybe what other technical partners you're working with.
Yeah.
We always talked about, I always like to have a secondary or third vendor in my back pocket, just in case something goes wrong, somebody gets sick, I can rely on another vendor, technical partner to kind of fill in if needed.
And let's face it, there's no reason for not research, right? We have great tools nowadays, especially with AI and ChatGPT and all these other, tools. There's an easy enough way to do the research, right?
Exactly, and especially for healthcare, get to know the industry.
Yeah,
and all industries, for the most part, technology is technology, but there are some differences. Yeah, most industries want to be 24/7, 365, and healthcare for sure is there. So definitely get a little background on what Lehigh Valley Health Network is, what they do, services they provide, things like that, and how important our technologies are for never failing.
That's a great point. Maybe sometimes industry doesn't matter, but healthcare it does, right? Understand how healthcare works. The industry works before you come in.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point. Gregg, I'm just thinking, any examples off the top of your head of out of box thinking that you've been through that maybe some of our sellers can learn from, maybe even suggest?
Yeah. So back we did Epic. I think it was Epic around 2015, I believe, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was just a director of technology back then. And we were best of breed shop. So we had basically one of everything. We're moving to platforms that we were less familiar with. Okay. SAN storage, compute, virtualization, high availability, things like that. More backup recovery. I was given kind of the marching orders that this system can never go down. We're putting all our eggs in one basket with Epic. And as I was thinking before, we started signing contracts and deals with Epic in particular. I got to talk to 5, 6, 7 different, vendors. Yeah. For product support, all that kind of stuff that obviously Epic approved or blessed. how am I getting all these things to work together? So I just went on a limb and I brought all of them in. I bought donuts or lunch. I brought probably 30 people in a conference room and said, hey, you're all the best of the best. We all think your products are going to help us be successful. And I just started talking about we all have to work together.
Right.
And it was interesting. One quick funny story is the VM person says, well, you know what? VM's never going to come down. So that's great. What happens if Citrix fails or compute fails or there's a storage failure?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if VM's running. They all have to be up and running at the same time and the same level. So I think it was good for people to hear that. You got to all be successful to make this work. You can't just have one product that says I never go down. So I look for them to say, well, what are some things that you do that you are more resilient? You have minimal failures. Let's just talk about that. And as different perspectives you can hear from different vendors, it might put some ideas in their heads about how to make sure that things fail as little as possible.
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, you talk about Epic, which is the lifeblood of the hospital. It's got to be up all the time. And individual conversations with these vendors, nothing ever happens with our product. But you get them all in a room and they start hearing, what goes into the entire stack of this application that runs Epic. That's actually a great suggestion for some of our sellers. Go out and suggest that, to like, hey, you're buying 5 different products. Let's get everybody in a room.
Yeah, the other thing too I throw out there too, Steve, and again, from a salesperson's perspective, it shouldn't matter where it comes from, these ideas, but stuff's going to fail.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how, high availability you have it, all this active stuff that I've seen all those things fail. Don't have your salespeople afraid to say, so what happens when that happens? You need to be prepared. Right. You need to be prepared for any kind of failure. Sure. No matter how many of the nines you think you are, you're never going to fail. Yeah. You need to have a game plan. Because it is going to fail. We've seen that. Oh yeah, we've seen it a bunch of times. Yeah. And
let's face it, it's hardware, it's software. Software is millions of lines of code. Yep. Right. Anything can go wrong at any time. You got to be prepared.
Exactly. And all you got to do is ask that question, the what if question. And you don't be technical. Just say, what happens if your storage fails? What happens if your data center goes down? What happens if this fails? So if your phones go down, all kinds of different aspects. Your folks can say that stuff, and I think it's at least start some good conversation.
Yeah. I mean, even if you look at the VAR side, right? We have vendors in all the time, and they'll all give you the 5 and 6 nines, right? So that's really, really important tip. Get them all together. I love the idea. Sure, I love the idea. Sure. So, Greg, what kind of things, what kind of sales tactics would you say you don't appreciate when you were on that side? And I'm thinking things like you hear of everything. Salespeople will say, hey, I just tell them that your CIO sent me in, told me to have a conversation with you. Or some salespeople like to, hey, a good trick is call their cell phone, after hours. Maybe you'll get lucky and pick up. So anything come off the top of your mind of what sales tactics you really didn't appreciate?
Well, back to don't push the product. Yeah. Tell me where you think you can help. And maybe some conversation will come out of that. So in other words, you should know my environment just as well or better than I do. Right. And say, hey, Greg, it looks like you're coming into life here, or you need to expand some product or storage or compute here. You're coming to end of life. Let's talk about some options to maybe do that. Does that make sense to you? So know some of those expansion areas or end of life areas that you need to be ahead of, in that particular area. The pushiness. Yeah. But again, back to the things we talked about again a few minutes ago at our other meeting. I'm always here. Give them the cell phone number. Yeah. That confidence, it's like phone a friend. If something goes down, I go to an example we brought up Epic, and after a year or so we had a problem with our NetApp storage, and boom, I called my sales rep like Thanksgiving Eve, and I forget exactly what failed, and he was there, moved mountains to get us the equipment, came in, as quickly as possible, got us up and running. That's the kind of stuff that means that's the big value. That's the big value. Then when you guys are always there, if I need to just call you, moment's notice. I know it's tough for you guys. Yeah. Christmas, New Year's, any kind of holiday, but you know what? That's going to differentiate you, set you apart from the other vendors.
So that's the meaning of a partnership.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, if we're going to have a business partnership, that's what it means. It goes both ways.
It does.
So if I circle back and just think about our conversation, if we do get the meeting with a new customer, do a little research, understand the customer's industry, understand, do some research, find out what problems they might be having, understand what products they use, understand what they're involved with day to day, do a little homework, and then present the differential that you can make with that customer. How can you help them out? Yeah, that's the advice.
And some of it you can't. Like with healthcare, funding is tight. Yeah. Funding is very tight, and staffing, and sometimes you get talk to a customer, it's like, I can't help you. But here's my card, here's my information. If something comes up, let me know. At least they got a name to a face. A couple months down the road, they may pick up the phone and call you for something. So that's the other thing you got to make sure, keep that in the back of your mind. It may not be as successful because you didn't sell or buy, sell anything, but so
you made a connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because again, we were challenged where I only have so many dollars to go around.
Yeah.
Our dollars are competing, technology dollars are competing with clinical dollars, all the other dollars in the network. Sometimes you don't have enough.
And I think a lot of salespeople get caught up in that, that thought that, oh, if I just tell them how great this product is, they'll go find the budget. And it just doesn't work that way, right?
If something's really broken. So again, if you're trying to solve a specific need or a fix or problem, you're trying to fix something and you have a super duper niche there, I think those days are long gone because there's so much.
Those times are rare.
There's so much competition out there, Steve.
Yeah.
So at some point, it's like, okay, what's going to make me? What is A versus B any better? Probably not. So it comes down to service, things like that, things we've talked about. Yeah. At that point, and maybe follow up in a month or two.
Yeah.
How's it going? Do you need more help? We're getting back to what are some of the pain?
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to find Citrix resources. It's a hard resource to find. Well, how can we help? Maybe you can help find them. Maybe you can help do some digging, check your channels, check your.
And you're okay with a 4 to 6 week cadence? Like that's not out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I didn't mind.
Right.
I didn't mind it at all. And obviously, I want the relationship to be with my direct reports as well.
Sure.
Get to know them. They're going to do most of the hands-on work. But absolutely, I never had a problem with it.
Sure. Well, Gregg, this has been fantastic, man. I can't thank you enough for taking the time, coming out, and jumping on the podcast with us today.
You're most welcome. I appreciate it, Steve.
I appreciate it. Take care and good luck in retirement.
Thanks, man.
See
Take
ya.
care. Bye-bye.